Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Now, a while ago I made this community post on my channel where I asked you guys which mod of Ghouls vs. Humans I should review classes for, and you guys chose this mod. It's tons of extra classes, or Meepy edition, or whatever the hell you want to call it. So yeah, today we're going to be reviewing all, I think, 27 classes, correct me if I'm wrong, and yeah, let's go. One thing that I know for certain is that there are 18 humans. Oh well. Alright, so, the first class for today is the Marine. He has 100 health, moves at a moderate speed, has no access to the auto map, and has 4 weapons. First up, he has a shotgun. It fires a quick short burst of pellets, and it has 50 ammo to start with, so that's pretty useful. It's very useful when close range, as it deals really heavy damage. Next up we have his machine gun. It starts off with 200 ammo. And it fires multiple pellets extremely rapidly, and it has a cooldown for when you stop firing too, as you can see here. Yeah. And then lastly we have his dual pistols, which just fire one round out of a random pistol. That deals not as much damage actually as people think. Yeah. And then lastly, he has his iconic 5 grenades, which you can just press right click to throw. You can hold right click to throw them at a distance. And if you hold a grenade for too long, it'll explode in your hands and deal a lot of damage, so don't do that. Alright. Next up we have the Hunter. He has 100 health, moves at a moderate speed, and has full auto-map access. And he's actually the only class that has auto-map access. His main weapon is the bow, but he has different abilities for this bow, including fire, ice, and lightning. Alright. First up you have the normal arrows, which do not slow the Hunter down when trying to fire them. He starts with 30 of these arrows, and yeah, they deal light damage, mainly for ghouls that can fly. Alright, next up we have fire arrows, which take a bit longer to shoot. They deal most damage out of all of the arrow upgrades, and yeah. Also, these bow abilities actually have some special abilities alongside, you know, the elemental tipped arrows. Alright, so the normal bow has this little shock that doesn't do anything else other than deal small damage to any ghouls that are in a short range of the player. And for fire arrows, you can cast a little spectrum of fire around you, which looks really pretty. Actually, I like this ability. Alright, let's move on. Next up we have ice arrows, but before we move on I just want to say that the fire around the initial fire arrow and the explosion deals extra damage as well. Alright, the ice arrows doesn't actually fire an arrow in itself. It is slower than the fire arrows. It actually fires multiple ice shards that break on impact, as you can see over here. And alt fire summons in some ice spikes that only slow down enemies. It doesn't damage them, it's just a way of slowing them down if you need to. And lastly, lightning. This weapon is actually a hit scan, so you don't have to worry about aim, and it deals a shit ton of damage. And alt fire casts lightning from the sky. I need to get to a place that has a ceiling, because, yeah, see, there we go. Casts a beam of lightning from the sky. Pretty cool. And it deals really heavy damage, so try to use it wisely. And yeah, let's move on to the next class. Alright, next up we have the Cyborg, who also has 100 health. He actually makes some really loud noises when walking, which may alert nearby ghouls and other humans. He has a plasma blaster, which just shoots plasma. It has regainable ammo. You can regain it if you stand still. And you have 100 of that ammo to start with. For alt fire, you have 150 jetpack fuel, which lets you fly for a short while. This ammo cannot be regained. And the Cyborg also has an inventory item, which launches him into the air for a short moment, consuming some of the jetpack fuel. Pretty cool. Alright. Whoopsie daisies. Next up we have the Ghostbuster. He's actually pretty complicated. Alright. So next up we have the Ghostbuster. First up we have his Proton Pack, which just shoots some proton pellets that deal light damage. Sorry for that. He starts with 150 of this ammo and he can regain it by simply standing still. And yeah. He also has Ghostbuster upgrades, which he can gain from killing other ghouls. he can practically harness their power and use it for his own. If I were to explain what each power does, that would make the video like 50 minutes long, so I guess that I can leave that for another separate video for another day. And then next up he has 10 Ghostbuster traps, which you can place on the ground. It doesn't matter how many you place, I'm gonna place 3. And then they can be remote detonated from anywhere. Those deal extremely heavy damage, so use them scarcely. Yeah, look at that. Fancy light show. Awesome. Alright. Next up we have the Engineer. Alright, so the Engineer has... yeah, 3 weapons. First up we have his nail gun that actually deals a lot of damage. The ult for the nail gun fires 4 nails in a vertical line, which is good for taking out multiple ghouls in the air, probably dispersing them to other locations. Next up we have the saw launcher. You start off with 30 saws. Once fired, these things spin around in the air and they land, and they can be picked back up. Though the ult fire cements these saws into the ground and then can be used as traps for the ghouls. It slows them down and deals heavy damage. They can all be picked back up when in this state. And only 15 of these saws can be placed at once. So let's try to do that. The game will tell me eventually that you can't place more than 15. Yeah, there we go. Can't place more than 15 saws at once. Alright. And lastly we have the steam cannon, which is actually quite an insane weapon if you ask me. You start off with 5 steam balls. It fires this giant ball of, well, steam with a small fire trail that deals extremely heavy damage and explodes on impact. Though be wary, ult fire for this weapon places it right next to you, so be careful. In case you want to get rid of like a creeper or something, you can use this. Ooh, that is dangerous. Alright. Next class, we have Santa. I still have no idea why he exists. He is very similar to the Engineer, if not an exact reskin of the Engineer, to be fair. Alright, so first up he has his snow gun, which fires snowballs that deal heavy damage, and an ult fire that fires multiple snowballs in actually a horizontal line, that can actually slow down ghouls, so that's pretty cool. Alright, next up we have these holly traps, which can be placed on the ground. Jesus Christ. So yeah, you can slow down ghouls with these as well. And ult fire places them right next to you. And yeah, you can't pick up any of these, no matter in what way you've placed them. And lastly, you have the star launcher, which contains 5 ammo, and you can fire these explosive stars. That doesn't make any sense at all. Alright. Next up we have the mage. He's actually extremely complicated. He has 1, 2, 3, I think 3 weapons? Yeah, 3 weapons. Alright, first up we have his ice wand, which fires small little ice projectiles that skim across the ground, leaving behind some ice spikes. So that's pretty cool. Oh wow, why do I have to cough so much? Alright, the ult fire releases the small little electricity ice particle thingy that deals extremely heavy damage. And it also makes a funny noise. Why is that so funny? You can also throw it up in the air, it explodes on impact, bounces around. Alright, next up we have the blizzard wand that, you guessed it, spawns in an ice blizzard that deals extremely heavy damage to ground ghouls and anything unfortunate enough to be above. Ooh, wow. And ult fire summons in some small ice particles that deal a lot more damage than you actually think, so try to aim really well with these. Yeah, don't do what I'm doing. And the ice ants fire 5 small ice particles that deal small damage. Its ult fire releases a big ice ball that explodes on impact. Alright? Next up we have Corvus, who's the straight opposite of the mage. So let's do that. I'm inhaling a lot of dust here, we should probably open the window. Alright, so he has 1, 2, 3 weapons. Alright, cool. So first up he has his fire wand that releases a small projectile that releases some fire behind it as well. It skims across the ground. And right click casts some fire from the sky like a storm, so that's pretty cool. This can only be used very sparingly and this ammo cannot be regained, so be careful. Alright, next up we have the Phoenix wand that spawns in a bird that releases fire. It can also fly. So yeah, pretty cool. Right click releases some small fire skulls that deal heavy damage. And of course explode on impact. Alright, and lastly we have the fire gloves. Ooh. Primary fire releases these small, tiny explosive pellets that deal little damage. And alt fire releases many of them at once, and has a bit of cooldown as well. Alright, pretty cool. Alright, so next up we have Taradino. I have no idea how to pronounce his name. Correct me if I'm wrong. Alright, so he has his assault rifle, his flamethrower, and double pistols. Alright, that's pretty cool. Alright, so his AR fires 3 shots with a little bit of cooldown at first, but when the alt fire is used, it can fire multiple at once, consuming a bit more ammo, no cooldown. Yeah, you start with 200 ammo, by the way. Alright, so next up we have the flamethrower that releases fire around Taradino, dealing extremely heavy damage. And alt fire throws a firebomb that explodes for some reason. Alright, and his duels do the exact same thing as the Marines, but alt fire can actually fire both duels at once. Alright. Next up we have Laura. Let's spawn her in. Alright. So she has her duels, a shotgun, and a bow. Alright, let's start off with the dual pistols. It fires both of them at once, actually, and it has infinite ammo, and it deals quite heavy damage, too. So yeah, pretty overpowered. And alt fire fires through these projectiles. Yeah. Alright. Next up we have the shotgun, which releases a small burst of projectiles with little to no cooldown, actually. And alt fire fires it 3 times. Yeah, that's not overpowered at all. And the bow releases a small arrow that sticks to surfaces and deals little to no damage. But what's interesting about this weapon is its alt fire, because it fires explosive pellets, for whatever reason. What's with this game and explosive weapons? Alright. Let's carry on. Alright, next up we have Caleb. This is the class that I made fun of last video due to how broken he is. He has a sawed-off shotgun, a revolver, and some dynamite. The shotgun fires 1 chamber at a time, which deals heavy damage, but can also be used as an alt fire to fire both chambers at once. So yeah, that's actually extremely overpowered. I made a whole video about it. I could practically 2 or 1-shot the whole roster. Yeah. And next up we have the revolver that fires rounds. You start with 6, but you can reload them, like so. And alt fire lets you fire them rapidly. Yeah, and it also deals more damage. Alright, next up we have some dynamite. You can throw it on the ground, you can also hold to throw it further. It doesn't explode if you hold it for too long, surprisingly. But be careful, alt fire places it right next to you. If you want to get rid of a ghoul really quick, you can just throw it right next to you, and then jump away immediately. Perfect. Alright, next up we have the Duke. Alright, so the Duke has a shotgun. He can also kick his enemies, and a pistol. Alright, let's start off with the shotgun. This shotgun deals immensely heavy damage, and can only be fired once, as it has 50 ammo and insane cooldown. Like, it takes really long for Duke to reload the shotgun, and it's not a very good weapon to begin with either. Alright, next up he can kick his enemies, dealing not very heavy damage actually. I have no idea why the hell he can do this, but he can. Alright. And lastly, he has his pistol that fires rounds extremely fast. It's kind of a click as fast as you can challenge, but you do have to reload from time to time, as he starts with only 12 ammo. And then alt fire is the same for all weapons. You can throw a little pipe bomb that explodes. You start with only 10 and you cannot regain these, so use them scarcely. And lastly, he also has an inventory item that lets him fly with his jetpack. He only has 200 ammo for this jetpack, so yeah. Alright, let's carry on. Next up we have Blaz. He starts off with a submachine gun, a knife, and the chain gun. Wow. Alright, let's start off with the submachine gun. It fires 3 pellets rapidly, and you can also just fire them continuously, yet a little bit slower like Taradino. And it doesn't have any cooldown at all, which is pretty cool. Alright, next up we have his knife, which can stab ghouls up close, and it deals a lot of damage actually. Alt fire lets you jump forward, stab, and then jump right back. This is actually a really awesome ability. Look at this. Nice. Alright, next up we have the chain gun that's making some really silly noises. It has 150 ammo, and you can charge it on fire. It deals extremely heavy damage, and it's really good, but it has limited ammo, beware. And it shares its ammo with the submachine gun, which only ever sometimes uses ammo. Alright, next up we have a recently added class, the Barbarian. Let's check him out. Alright. Okay. The Barbarian has a sword, his axe, and a hammer. Alright. The sword primary fire just swings the sword in front of him, dealing small damage. Pretty basic, but the old fire fires 3 explosive green pellets out of the sword, as if that makes any sense. But it deals extremely heavy damage, so that's pretty cool. Alright, the axe lets him swing it in front of him, which deals moderate damage. And the alt-fire lets him cause lightning to spew out of the axe, which is actually a hit scan weapon, so wherever you look it'll fire. And it deals moderate damage as well. Right? And lastly we have his hammer, which lets him hit ghouls in front of him with this, and it actually deals extremely heavy damage, as you may have anticipated. And right-click lets him cause a small shockwave around him, which is pretty cool. Let's just take a look at that in third person. Really, really powerful stuff. Alright. Let's carry on. Next up we have the knights. Okay, so we have an axe, a throwing axe, and a long sword, and he also has a shield, so that's pretty cool. Alright. He starts off with 30 axes, and he can throw them around wherever he wants to, dealing heavy damage. Though, if you hold an axe for too long, you can not only throw it further, but also cause a small little explosive shockwave. These axes can also sometimes be picked back up. It's like a 50-50 chance they can pick them back up. I got pretty lucky here. But yeah, if you hold it for too long, you can see that it'll get charged, and then third person for this. Kaboom! Same shockwave as the Barbarian, though that it deals a bit less damage. Hold it. Bam! The axe is completely dissipated after this move and cannot be picked back up. Alright. And next up we have the longsword. This weapon only has 10 uses, and it's practically a short-range projectile that causes a mini tornado on impact. I do not know why. But it deals heavy damage. But once it is fully used, which I'm going to do right now, it can be used as a melee weapon to hit your ghouls. And then you also have a shield that can be used temporarily to block any incoming projectiles for a really short time. So use that sparingly. Alright. Next up we have Strife Guy, Ivy, and Meepy. That's only 3 more humans. Alright. Okay, here's Strife Guy. Oh, wait a second. Yeah, this is his first form. He's in a massive robot for some reason. And he has a plasma rifle with, you guessed it, 100 ammo, which can be regained if he stands still. He fires plasma projectiles, and his alt fire lets him to shoots lightning from the sky, so that's pretty cool. And if he runs out of ammo, which I'm going to make him do right now... Okay, now that he's out of ammo, he'll fire smaller lightning projectiles, as you can see here. Yeah, I don't know what to think of this. Alright, but his gimmick is when he, actually takes a bit too much damage. So let's do that right now. Alright. It'll say that his health is low and that he can eject from his robot and make it self-destruct, which is pretty damn cool. And now here is the real Strife Guy. He has a rifle with 100 ammo. Its primary fire is to shoot it, which deals low damage. Yeah, it doesn't consume ammo. But the other part fires these green pellets, which cannot be regained, and they consume ammo. They also explode on impact. Also, be wary, this does actually damage humans for some reason. So yeah, it's a bug that may be fixed in the near future. Alright, let's carry on. Alright, next up we have a very basic human, actually. It's Ivy. She has a plasma rifle and a railgun. The plasma rifle has 100 ammo. Ammo can be regained if she stands still, and it fires these plasma projectiles. Very basic, very basic. Oh no, it regains itself if you just move around. And it regains really fast, too. Alright, next up we have the railgun. Ooh, yeah, that's alt fire. It shoots a small grenade, as you can see over here. That deals heavy damage, actually. The railgun lets her fire the gun, making a small block projectile in distance. Yeah. It has 30 ammo, too. Right. Next up we have Meepy, and that's the last human before we move on to the ghouls. Let's go. Jesus Christ. Okay. Next up we have, Meepy. He has a laser gun with 3 different abilities. He can heal, clone himself, or even shrink himself. Here's what the laser gun itself does. It has 100 ammo, and it can be regained if you just simply stand still, the ammo. It deals heavy damage, actually, up close, but it's little damage when shot from far away. Yeah, it regains like 10 ammo every 0.5 seconds, so you're good. Alright, the heal ability lets him throw a red potion that, yeah, creates this little healing chasm that humans can go inside of. This can only be used once. His cloner lets him clone himself, as you can see. And his shrinker lets him become minuscular. Yeah, that's just about it. Oh yes, it's time for the ghouls. Let's go. Alright, so first up we have Sajalis. He's a really loud ghoul. Alright. He screams while he moves around, which is really, really, really loud. I'm not even sure if you guys can hear my voice. And his attack, you guessed it. He screams, causing an earthquake, dealing heavy damage. Jesus. And his ult fire, he can reflect projectiles. Yeah. Alright, next up we have the Creeper. Okay, a more quiet ghoul. He slithers among the ground, and his primary attack is to suck the soul of any human that is point blank with him. Yeah, as you can see, there is no human nearby, but, yeah, a very loud scream will be emitted if this attack actually works. And to help the Creeper get kills, he has stun balls, which he can throw, which, you guessed it, stun, humans. These can be regained if he stands still, though it takes ages, and he starts with 3 of those. Yeah, there we go. Alright, next up we have Jitter Skull. This guy teleports short distances to confuse the humans, as you can see here. And his attack is to charge forward, biting. Oh, that is loud. Listen to that. It has a whole bunch of cooldown, as you can see. Yeah, it has some cooldown. And his ult fire actually lets him move normally, but he's very slow. Alright, let's try it out. Okay, next up we have Choke, a very basic ghoul, though he is extremely tanky, standing at 200 health. Alright, he moves very fast, as you can see here, and he has a bite attack, which he can use extremely fast, and he can nibble away the health of the humans really fast, too. And his ult fire, he can charge up and spit a blood ball, which is my personal favorite attack of any ghoul. Love that. That is awesome. Epic. Alright. He also causes some script errors, as you can see. Alright, next up we have Frostbite. God, how many classes are in this? Alright. So Frostbite produces a loud noise when he moves around, and also produces some ice particles, too. Ugh, that sound is kind of annoying, and it does get annoying. He has a bite attack where he leaps forward. Alright, and he can also spit ice breath. This can be regained when he walks around, and he starts with 50 ice pellets? Yeah, I don't know. Alright, next up we have Ice Orb. Oh, this is a very quiet school. Alright, and he's also very complicated. Yeah. Alright, he has a bite attack like many other ghouls, and he can also spit a small blood ball that deals not as much damage yet moves faster. It's very similar to Chuck's blood ball, actually. Yeah, I love that. And his inventory item is to spawn a kid of his, a miniature version that goes around and nibbles around any human. Yeah. He can also gain more child spawns the more damage he takes, like let me just spawn in a grenade. And there we go, he can now spawn in more children. Good. Alright, next up we have Euboa. Alright, so Yuboa has night vision, which means she can see literally anything anywhere. And she also has automap access. Cool. Alright. Her main attack is to scare the humans to death. This only works on point blank, so it's kind of like the creeper. And yet again, a loud scream will be emitted. Yeah. Her alt fire is to turn on darkness mode, which emits some very dark light and turns the sprite fully black. So yeah, pretty cool. Yeah, alright. Let's move on. Next up we have Juggle. We're almost done. Alright, so Juggalum has 130 health and he flies around. And he constantly bleeds from his mouth, leaving behind a trail, which might give the humans an idea of where he is. Not only the humans, but the ghouls as well. Alright. His attack is to spit a fireball. As you can see right here. It explodes on impact and it deals small damage. And then you have a bite attack, which only works on a pulse. And this deals really heavy damage. Yeah. Really cool. Look at that. Spit. Alright, let's carry on. Next up we have Soul Harvester. A personal favorite of mine as he harvests souls. Wow, he's actually extremely tanky, standing at 300 health. And he has some very blocky teeth graphics over here. Oh, look at him go. He constantly slithers among the ground. He can't jump. He can climb. So that's pretty cool. He has an earthquake attack, which is his way of harvesting souls. And then his alt fire emits an extremely loud scream that makes him invulnerable for a short time. Christ. A very weird method of harvesting souls. Jesus. Alright, so next up is the class that I personally find scariest. Yorai. Let's do this. Alright. So Yorai is mostly a floor-based character like Soul Harvester, and she fades in and out of view, marking her presence with a heartbeat sound, as you can hear. Terrifying. Yeah, she also produces a small white light whenever she appears, so let me try to get that to happen. Yeah, there it is, you can see the small white. It's there, you can see it. Alright. She's also invulnerable when invisible, and she cannot move at all when manifesting. And a hair graphic also appears when manifesting. Alright. Her attack is to leap forward, dealing extremely heavy damage. It's unknown what this attack actually does, but it deals extremely heavy damage. We know that Jaws bursts eardrums, Jitter Skull drags and eats his victims, but what the hell does this do? Alright. Yeah, here's what it looks like when in first person. Yeah, the hair graphic instantly appears. And the alt fire can spit 1 or 5 pain balls that deal extremely high damage. Yeah, pretty cool. And her alt fire, actually, not her alt fire, her inventory item lets her freely move around without making, you know, heartbeat noises. Well, she is making them right now, but yeah. She can move around, she can still be shot, but yeah, she doesn't need to go through the heartbeat cycle. So you can just spam this and freely move around wherever. Alright, next up we have Misty. Now, Misty is an interesting character. He leaves behind a trail of mist that deals tons of damage, and he's a very floaty character, should I say. He likes to float around. Yeah. Alright, his primary attack is to scream, dissipating some fog in the process. That is loud. And then his alt fire is to spawn in this trail of fog. He starts with 50 fog ammo, which cannot be regained. So yeah, pretty weird. Alright, next up we have the clown. Let's see how this goes. Here he is. Wow. Alright, so he flies around at 130 health, and his primary attack is to hypnotize his victims. So yeah, this looks pretty cool. And it's also very loud. His alt fire is to go invisible for a period of 30 seconds, spawning in a trail which can only be seen by ghouls. He can also go uninvisible as well, producing the same noise. Though when he's invisible, he has a special attack. If you use your primary attack while invisible, he will charge forward, dealing lots of damage. So yeah, pretty cool class. Let's carry on. Alright, next up we have Mohawk. He's very interesting. Alright, so like other ghouls, he flies around. Look at him go. Alright. He also leaves behind a trail, which is pretty cool. Alright. His attack is to do this. It is currently unexplained what this does, though it's very weird. And his alt fire can only be enabled whenever he kills a human, so let's just do that. Yeah, there we go, I killed a human, and I can morph into the victims I just killed, so that is terrifying. You can kind of fool the other humans that, you know, hey, I'm a human as well, I'm totally not, you know, an old teammate of yours that I just killed. And then, when they least expect it, you can just go BAM and reveal your damn true form. So yeah, pretty cool. Alright, next up we have Metallic. I have no idea what the hell the developer was thinking when making this atrocity. It moves at a rather slow speed, leaving behind saws and stuff. And yeah, his primary attack is to charge, filling up a meter in the bottom right, and then when he releases, he moves forwards, dealing really heavy damage. Yeah. And his ult fire is to spawn in some saw blades too, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, I don't know what crack the developers were on when making this thing forward. Here's what happens when I charge with only like only 2 filled up in my meter bar. Yeah, I charge almost not at all. Alright, let's carry on. Next up we have Ioxa. Okay, so he can control both his left hand and his right hand. Let's start off with the right hand. He has 200 health as well. Oh, look at him go. Alright, his right hand makes him charge forward, clawing at his victims. This attack can actually snatch the player's heart. That's exactly what it does. And when Ioxa's damaged, he can actually eat that heart. So let's try that. It didn't spawn, damn it. Does this not work? Let me try to get the hunter. I think this only works online, actually. Hunter. Why the hell does it work with you, of all characters? Alright, so let's get a grenade. Deal some damage to ourselves. Ouchie ouchies. Get the heart. Heal right up. Eating a heart actually heals Ioxa to full. Alright. His ult fire is actually to implant a nuclear weapon inside its victims. Watch this. Bam! Now he's infected and dead. This can also kill other humans around it. Let me actually just SV infinite ammo. Just so I can show you what happens when I have infinite nukes. You can also cancel a nuke fire if you want by holding the button. It just shoots out a whole bunch of skulls around you. Which brings us to the left hand. The primary fire releases some spiders. Spooky. Hope that you're not arachnophobic or anything. And alt fire releases 4 of these skulls that I mentioned before, though that they move a bit slower. Alright, next up we have the Ravager. He's only just a flying creeper, that's it. He's just a creeper that flies around, charges forward when he soul sucks, and he has 5 stun balls. Oh yeah, right, I have infinite ammo. Yeah, there we go. 5 stun balls, very interesting, well done. Yeah, he does literally nothing else. Alright, next up we have Undeath, who's pretty cool, actually. The retarded OP zombie that everyone hates. He phases in and out of view when moving, which is pretty spooky, which I kind of want to show in third person. Oh wow, look at that. He's a very glitchy character. Glitchy in terms of his damn invisibility pattern. The rest is okay. Alright, his primary attack is to charge forward, dealing lots of damage. And his ult fire makes him place a teleport orb right there. And then when ult fire is pressed again, he can teleport right back to that spot. So yeah, pretty cool. But humans can always just camp that spot if they suspect that Undeath placed it there. And yeah. Alright, next up we have Trollface. Trollface is kind of a more OP choke, and the fastest class in the whole game. Look at this guy go! Alright, yeah, he has 150 health. He has a bite attack, like most other ghouls, and he shares the same sound with Choke, for some reason. Yeah. Very weird. And his alt fire causes him to turn semi-invisible, which is pretty cool. But if you bite, you can go back to normal. Yeah, that doesn't really work. You just turn invisible right back. Yeah, alright. And that's all he does. Alright, so we only have 2 more classes. Alright, next up we have the Cyber Vampire. He always moves, and you cannot stop him from moving, and he also flies. His attack is to bite. That's it, literally just bite. Making a really weird metallic noise. And his ult fire is to shoot a bat that deals really heavy damage. Actually, he shoots 4. Or 5. I think it's actually random how many bats he shoots. Like 1 to 10 or something. But when a human is hit with these bats, he will be turned into a bat himself, which is pretty cool. Let me demonstrate. Okay, let's do this. Oh no, it didn't work. I have to be online to do this. I think he's invulnerable now. Oh no, never mind, I just killed myself. Alright, let's carry on. Next up we have the Lurker, and he's the last class of today's video. Yay! Alright, so he's underground, kind of like the Impaler from Legacy of Darkness, and sometimes peeks his head from under the ground, which is pretty cool. So he's kind of like Yor, if you think about it, but he can't cancel this ability. Alright. His attack is to jump out the ground and bite, which has massive cooldown, by the way. And his ult fire, I don't remember what this does, actually. Oh yeah, right, he doesn't have an ult fire. His ult fire does nothing. Alright, and here's what happens when he's damaged. Something actually kind of interesting. I missed. 85 health and I missed. Yeah, he does that. I didn't get to see it. I missed it. No, that would have been epic. No, I can't do it. Oh, come on, I'm the literal worst. I can't get him to take damage for Pete's sake. Oh my god, just stay still, I'll spawn in the stupid grenade. And it went out the map, great. Grenade. Yeah, there we go, finally. Yeah, he does that, and he can become shootable for a short amount of time. Yeah. Well, that's it. That's every single class from Meepy Edition. I hope that you enjoyed. If you haven't liked this video, subscribe, turn on notifications, all that jazz. I have a bunch of social media accounts and my about page, so make sure to go check those out, and I'll be seeing you in the next video. Goodbye.